Greetings, MelVee family, wherever I find you. I don't know where you are today, but I'm in a very special country, a very special space with special people. I'm in the kingdom of Lesotho. Some of you may not know where Lesotho is, but it's the only country that's bordering with one country because it's surrounded by South Africa, and it's a kingdom. It's a special place. This is the MelVee podcast on the go, and hence we are bringing it to you from Lesotho. And we are so excited to be able to meet with a few colleagues and discuss special issues. So I'm hoping this will be a blessing to you. If you have not subscribed to this channel, I'm just requesting you to look at the word subscribe at the bottom right there. Click on it and subscribe so that when we post new videos in future, you will be informed about them. And if you're here as a subscriber, a special welcome to you. I want to thank you for being here. And let me just also say, please like this live stream. Like this video so that some people can get it suggested to them. So let me introduce you to my guest for today. Greetings, Ntate. How are you?
Greetings, I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Thank you.
What a privilege to have you today.
Yeah, I'm also happy as a follower of this channel. Today I'm here.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
You know, I always see you in the church leading in music. And today I've got a chance to get to know the men more, but also discuss very exciting topics about this country. Perhaps just to introduce yourself to the viewers there, tell us who's Koantlane Molefe.
I am Koantlane Molefe. There's another name, an English one. It was called a Christian name when it was first given to me.
Wow. I'm already assuming this must be a religious name.
Yes, Andreas.
All right.
Or Andres.
All right.
My grandmother would say Andreas. You know?
All right.
But they are all my names because
right.
all of them are not given by my current church. And there have been spiritual exercises for those names to adopt, which are not necessarily from a Christian background if you take the Sesotho ones. But
yes.
they are my names. So
yes.
Shifting faith can't say change your name as well.
So you were given these names when you were in which religion?
If we talk about the Sesotho ones,
yes.
Sesotho has an element of spirituality where they will slaughter a sheep and then
yes.
give the child a name and all that. So
when they said Koantlane, what would they say?
I remember that I grew up asking myself, what does my name mean? Because Sesotho names, you have Tabo, Tsidiso, Matsidiso,
yes.
easily understandable
yes.
names. And even I remember primary school days, early when I was beginning to write, and I admired these guys who had names like Neo, Tau, who can just
simple
three letters they are done, and then I would struggle with the letter K itself.
Wow.
Just K.
Wow.
And then continue. By the time I reached
yes, the
NTL, you know, it was a challenge. And so being a unique name, it was always in my mind as to what does it mean. So at a certain age, I think I was at varsity when I asked my father, what does this name mean? His answer was, meaning I don't know.
Wow.
But then he gave a brief history of the ancestor that used to bear the name.
So it belongs to someone
exactly
from before.
Yeah, we have strong traditional roots in my family.
All right.
So, but I kept asking, and there was this time when there was an intervarsity at the National University of Lesotho. I was already working, but I went there, and I met this Tswana guy. I don't even remember the name now. And I asked him, in Botswana, don't you have these names? Because I know we should be speaking that language, or we used to speak that language.
All right.
That's our original language. Don't we have this word Koantlane there? He told me that, we have it, man. We have what we call Tikwankwetla there, translated giants.
All right.
And then when we talk about the giant amongst the giant. We talk about Koantlane.
Oh.
You can imagine.
I'm sure you must have been very excited to know what it means.
Yeah, and at the time I wasn't in this faith, so
yes, you were not yet an Adventist.
Exactly. So it resonated with that self. Like
yes, that's us.
Yes, but when I got into the Adventist circles,
yes,
I said, Lord, let the name always remind me of the giant of giants, which is you, Jesus, in my life.
Wow.
So if someone calls me, I shouldn't necessarily remember me, but always remember that there's a giant.
There's the real giant among giants.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your growing up, your life in Lesotho. What stands out for you from those early years?
It's many issues. I'm someone who's in mind. I'm a bit balanced in terms of judging issues. So sometimes I struggle to say this was an outstanding one. So I'll just give you who I am, and then maybe we will gather along.
No, the giant among giants must have a story.
Yeah, definitely. So I was born in 1977, June 22nd.
All right.
So I'm 45 this year. Second born within my family of 4 sons.
Wow. 4 boys only?
Only.
Wow.
And we are still together, alive by the grace of God. And
Amen.
even my parents, that day, Dumo, Robert Molefe, my mom, Marcelo, Agatha Molefe, they are still there.
Wow.
And I was born in Hlwahlweng, where when we say Hlwahlwa in Sesotho, we mean delta, when 2 rivers meet.
Yes.
So we have the biggest river in Africa, I think, maybe Southern Africa, Senqu, the Orange River. Where
that's a long one.
Yes, where it meets with the Senqunyane.
All right.
So that's where I was born, and I grew up there until I was 8 or 9. And then my father said, no, let's relocate because I want these guys to be schooled. If they stay here in the rurals, they will go for another school, which is initiation and all that.
Yes.
Then we take them to the urbans, and that's when we came here. And then we lived in Leribe. That's where I grew up. I attended most of my primary school there. And then later high school. I attended the Hakim Primary, then moved on to Mount Royal High School, where I did Form A up to Form E. And I finished in 1995. 1996, then I went to the National University of Lesotho for 4 years, and then 2000 I finished. And then...
What were you studying there?
I studied Bachelor of Arts in Public Administration and Political Science. And then after that, I began to adopt an area of practice, this human resource management practice. I've been doing that till this very day.
All right.
So we will probably get into the nitty-gritties when we go on. But in a nutshell, I grew up from a spiritual point of view as a Catholic.
All right.
I was raised as a Catholic, and
so this is where the name comes in.
And
Andreas.
Yes.
All right.
When I got.
Were you ever asked if you could be a priest in that church?
Yeah, my mother really wanted me to be a priest. At a later stage, my non-school principal, Sister Angelina Mashwai, whom I take as part of my parents, because she's the one who later adopted us and my brothers and supported them to financially be able to be schooled. She wanted at least one of us to become a priest, but at a personal level, I had already made a decision, I think when I was still a primary pupil, that no, I want to have children like my father one day. So I did like the priesthood.
All right.
When you looked at them, I admired them. I I could join them, but the fact that you have to be celibate when you practice the priesthood, I said no. I won't join them. I want to have children like my father.
But any of your brothers become priests?
No.
All right.
No. Three of us are now married with children, families, and we are still staying together. There are no divorces.
Yeah.
I think youngest one is around 34, 35 years old, but he's not yet married, which was not the trend with us. Before 30, you all got married. But people work their
their ways are different. And
but I think one day he will have a family.
I think if he's watching this, I'm going to just tell him the elder said he wants to see you.
Yeah.
He can't wait for too long.
Definitely, yeah.
He must settle.
So that's where, within the Catholic faith, that's where I learned to get interest into spiritual things.
All right.
But I think that was the second level, because spirituality I took from my grandmother.
Yeah, so I want to hear a little bit about that, because this is the life that most people who have grown up in the cities, and perhaps even some of our brothers across the oceans, don't understand how Africans view spirituality. So I'll be very interested in your journey from the early years. Because it looks like even your naming was a spiritual.
Exactly.
So just maybe walk us through that and your discovery of who you are in the spirit and who is Koantlane.
Yes.
Yes.
Like I did point out, my family are traditionalists, at least at that early stages of my life. Because we were still living in the rurals there at Hlwahlwing. So it was easier to have spiritual ancestry rituals most of the time. So I would say I grew up as someone who connects with the communal faith there. Things that we today term, what's the term? I'll remember that, but it's stuff that connect with the way you view nature, that if I do this will happen. I shouldn't do this, I should do that. If there is a plant superstition, we say today we view them as superstition.
All right.
If I try to have a root of a certain plant that I need to eat, and I kind of dig while standing this side
on the wrong side
of the terrain, it will go deeper, and I want to, and those things happened, So I grew up from that side of traditionalism, where there are rituals, slaughtering of different animals for different rituals, and all that kind of, and that was in my heart. But now my mother also my grandmother also now was also a Catholic.
All right.
And among the 4 sons, I was the one who lived with her.
Okay.
So she would pray every time. We would pray before we sleep.
Yeah.
She would tell me stories, sometimes Bible stories, sometimes stories that were told by priests at a certain time and all that. This had an immense impact on me.
All right.
From the Sesotho side of things, she would tell me folk stories that we commonly say called Ditsomo. They had tremendous impact on myself. I remember the Mushanyana Sankatana story. Where there was this big dinosaur that swallowed the whole village, and now this young boy had to defeat the thing and take the whole village out of
this
the
animal.
belly of this animal, which in turn the Catholic Church said that's actually Jesus. And so those things stayed in my heart, and I revered God, and I loved His heaven. Remember, my grandmother told me about the road to heaven. That there are 2 roads.
Okay.
There's the big, beautiful one.
All
that
right.
one, the day you go to heaven, don't take it, my son. it will lead you to hell.
You'll be lost. Also, this is now the spiritual belief in the Catholic Church that says when you die, you go to heaven.
Exactly.
So,
and my
she's
grandmother
saying,
now was telling me that.
Oh, beyond the grave.
Exactly. But take the right one.
Oh, it's on the right.
That is That is
narrow.
Small, that is narrow, but full of thorns. Take that one.
Wow.
It will take you to heaven, you know. so I was quite a spiritual person, naturally.
Right.
So that's why it was easier for me at school to revere holy things, go to church every Sunday, listen to the priest, the nuns. There was this position at church which was called in Sesotho it's called Mokadikista.
Okay.
He's some kind of a church elder who teaches
the
children the catechism, even up to grown people, adults.
All right.
So those people had a serious role in me, and I listened to them and I tried to really practice what they were teaching. So even at school, especially high school, every first Friday of the month we go for Holy Mass. And
all right.
That's where I learned singing.
Yes.
Learned to do tonic solfa notation, choral music, and so forth.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that. I think
I don't believe that you were an angel even at a young age. Are you telling me that all through those years there's no naughtiness you ever came across? What do you remember about your young age?
Yeah, obviously, as boys, you would, and there's a belief in Lesotho that an intelligent child, some of the things that you will see is the naughty stuff that they do. You should know that this child is so. Okay,
so intelligence is measured by how clever you
how
you
busy
behave.
is and hyper and all those kind of
all
things.
Right.
And I would say, unfortunately, within my family, I think I was the baddest one in a way because always I would get whipped for this, for that, you know. But then at school, I began to be outstanding right away, right, just from the onset. And my parents fortunately picked that, and they really supported it.
All right.
So obviously, the mischief will always be related to age levels. So high school, we do stuff again. And you will begin to lie to parents about
how did you survive?
things.
How did you survive? Because you grew up in the generation when HIV and AIDS was really ravaging a lot of young people and families, and drug abuse, alcoholism. How did you survive those things? What kept you clean?
I would say parental guidance. My father is a disciplinarian, and he's a man that simply would take charge. And that's it. And he commands. And if you are a child within the family, you are a child. And if he says it's time to go home, you go home. And that's it.
Yeah.
You don't do it, then you get what you're asking for.
Yes,
and he can really give it to you, you know, nicely.
If your head can't get it, your bums are going to feel it.
Exactly. So the first pillar that really, I think, saved me was the role my parents had on us as their boys. They really didn't fear to, even my mother.
All right.
If need be, she could be the one. At the time when my father was in the mines, we were left with her alone. But wouldn't be ill-disciplined at all.
Because he knew that she's going to whip you.
Exactly.
When daddy comes,
she tells
the report is going to follow another whipping.
Exactly. So that's the first level. The second level, it's that spiritual orientation whereby we were mainly always found around the temple, serving in different ways.
All right.
That really saved us, because among the things that I did was to join a society called the Lesotho Catholic Youth Movement. The abbreviation is commonly called LCYM.
All right.
So they would also keep guiding us to say a Catholic boy should behave this way and all that. But yes, we would still find ways to be mischievous and all those kind of things.
Boys will always be boys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thirdly, then the education about HIV and AIDS kicked in different ways. Peer trainings, school presentations, and all those kind of things. And then they kind of want someone. They want me that, hey, man, be careful. Exactly. Try and live a proper life.
Exactly.
Without claiming to be an angel like you said.
Just be human and do what you have
exactly.
to do. So I'm interested in you now getting into, let's talk about your spiritual life as a transition from the traditional to Catholic. How did you become an Adventist?
When I think naturally I have a thinking brain, which I can say is somehow philosophic.
All right.
So you'd find such a brain is always asking questions, even if you don't voice them out.
All right.
So I always had questions around spirituality, religion, Christianity. Why do we have so many churches? How do I believe that I'm in the right church? When a priest is preaching or something, how do I verify that is truth? Does God even exist? You know. And why is this? What is this church doing here? Because it's termed Roman. Why don't we have a Lesotho one?
Catholic
Why
church.
do we do the Roman faith?
Wow.
You know, I had so many questions. But for some reason, I naturally believed that God speaks through the Bible. Because my father had a Bible.
All right.
He didn't do much of church at that time, but he had a Bible. So I wanted to read it. So I would attempt to read it, but never really understand. So, but at the high school level, tilting towards going to university, I began to have questions around the future.
All right.
How can't we know what the future holds for us? And that was exacerbated by the Pope when one time, I think it was John Paul, when he said something like in the year 2000, the world shall end. Something around that. Maybe he didn't say that, but newspapers at least said he did. He said that. So.
He was here in 1986, right?
Yes.
All right.
I think 1988.
88.
It should be 1988.
All right.
And so I felt like, no, the Bible has to help me verify if this is true. And something said the book of Revelation. Because I would take my father's Bible and then go through these book names until I find the name Tsenolo. It means there's something that is being explained here. So, and also for the fact that it's the last book. So my mind said, the Bible is history, man. So this must be near. And even near future, or maybe it may talk about future.
Wow.
Something said that in my mind.
So these are mental impressions you're getting.
Exactly.
And how old are you at that time?
I was doing Form E. When I was doing Form E, I think I was 18 years old, because I went to varsity when at 19.
All right.
Yeah. So I would attempt to read the book, but I would hear symbols and very scary beasts there. This one doing this, the other one doing that, and then I would obviously just put it aside.
Yeah.
Until 1996, I went to varsity. Obviously, then you would still find me around the temple there. Yes, we had varsity, but I know my roots. I continued singing at church and all those kind of things.
All right.
Now, those questions are still there, you know?
Okay.
And so they are still saying, find answers.
Yeah.
So this particular time when I was doing third year, I think I was doing third year. No. It was fourth year. It was fourth year.
All right.
I said, I'm about to get out of this institution. There's a big library there. I need to visit that library and let it answer
some of my questions.
I went there, and they had introduced computer searches where you search
search
books
engines,
according to a certain theme or
the
topic.
catalogs,
Exactly.
All right.
I went there and just typed Revelation. And I think around probably 7 or 8 books popped up, and I took notes, and then there are
the reference numbers.
Yes, and all that. And I noted and went on to get them. Obviously, most of them were at this religious section. I remember one book was termed Contemporary Theories on the Book of Revelation. The other one, I think it was Vatican II Council on the Holy Book of Revelation. You know, those, the rest, yes, I've forgotten. But then there's this book that didn't appear.
That you found on the shelf.
Search.
All right.
I found at the shelf. And when I looked at that book, somehow my heart kind of got warm.
It was jumping inside of you.
Yeah, it was written, the revelation of things to come.
Oh my Lord.
And then I took this book and I looked at the cover.
With
the
this
interest just grew more.
I remember, that was Robert Wayland, right?
Yes.
With that beast with many heads, very colorful. Was it a hardcover?
It was a greenish one. I think it was the early...
the paperback one, yes.
Exactly.
Yes, the earlier versions.
And I took the books, 8 or 9 of them, this one being around the 9th or 8th. And I think my mind is quite methodic. So I felt like, no, I have to begin with the ones I found first.
Okay.
But I was racing because I wanted to look at
something was just telling you this is the book you need to think.
And then I opened that book, because the other ones were quite academic and thesis-oriented kind of writings.
All right.
Which is common within university. Whatever study you, I don't care what you study, there will be a book that is termed Contemporary Theories on ICT technology, there's always those kind of...
Yes.
So for me, they didn't offer me what I was necessarily looking for. Because I wasn't looking for an academic discourse on religious practice or what. I just wanted something that can explain the book of Revelation. And then I flipped through. I think I need to mention that when I was still in primary, I still remember even the location where we were working with my brothers when I said, I will never, ever leave the Catholic Church.
Wow.
I will never.
Wow.
So that stayed with me.
What was informing that decision or resolution?
The fact that I perceived it to be the right church, the biggest church on earth. Those kind
Even
of...
in Lesotho, it was one of the biggest.
Exactly.
It's part of your top 3, right?
Yes.
In terms of religions.
Exactly. I think it makes maybe 80+% of the population.
And you've got this...
we are a Catholic population.
the Pope even came here.
Exactly.
Left a huge monument.
Exactly.
All right.
So, when I was reading these books, I didn't even dream about leaving the church.
Okay.
I just wanted to know what the book of Revelation says. That's all.
Okay.
And then I take this Revelation of Things to Come book, and then I opened the first page. The introduction says a verse by verse interpretation.
Wow.
Of the holy book.
I'm sure your heart must have said,
and then I said, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Wow.
Prior to that moment and even after, I wonder if I have read a book like that. We were doing exams at the time, final fourth year examinations.
Which year is this?
1999.
Wow.
Yeah, yes.
Wow.
I read that book for days.
Wow.
And I ran to a chapter that talks about when the world shall wander actually, after the beast.
The beast.
I began there.
Went to the end.
And then I just read from any direction from that. After reading that chapter, then I did any chapter.
All right. You know, I read that book. I'm a third generation Adventist, so my grandparents were Adventist. My parents raised us in the church, so I consider myself a third generation.
Yes.
But you know, like you said, every young man has his years wandering in the desert. And there are days when I didn't want to go to church, and the reason was because I didn't have church clothes. Yeah. And also because I was a very active sports person, and most sports at school were on Saturdays. So I'd always skip church to go to play rugby, run, discuss, and all of that. But I got that impression. This was 1992.
When you read that book?
When I had finished my O-levels in Zimbabwe. And a friend of mine said, now that you have no other books to read, he's late now. His name is Derek Mlilo. He said, you might want to read this. I didn't put it down until I had finished it.
Yeah.
And I kept teaching my mother, Mom, do you know about this?
Yeah.
Do you know about this? Do you know about this?
Once you read that, you talk. That's exactly what I did. Went home, told friends, told my girlfriend at the time, and she was Catholic, very Catholic. But by the grace of God, she's my wife today.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Yes. She saw something in you and said, I'm not going to live this way.
Exactly. So that book did it. It simply did it. And then there is a chapter, I don't remember the name of the chapter, that now talked about the little flock, a special kind of people.
Yes, the remnant.
Yes, and then that's where I met the terms, the remnant, all those kind of things. And until it talks about there is a sign
for that remnant.
And then I got interested into this. And then it talked about the Sabbath.
Oh, Lord.
And that's when I said, I remember how we ridiculed that they go on Sabbath or on Saturday, they are crazy, and from our village there and all that.
All right.
And I had a friend who was Seventh Adventist, whom we were together every day at the time when I was reading that book. And the first time I was reading the book, he even came into the library.
All right.
And I told him, man, I'm reading this book and it's telling me all these things. And he said, yes, my friend.
Wow.
And he also now
helped
divulged more and all that. And the next Sabbath I was in church here at Cop College. There's a hall here in town.
So you already knew about the Adventists?
Yes, and it was easier for me even to ask my friend, hey, Freddy boy, is PODCACTS.
So you're coming to church, what has happened? Just reading a book?
Yes.
Or is it a conviction that now you are saying, I need to do something about this information?
Already. That's why I went to him and asked, so where are you going next Saturday? I think I need to visit the church. Wow. So, and then he said, no, there is a youth conference in Maseru, Cop College.
All right.
We went there. I still remember the lady I was near. And I think, and Pastor Sisiwana, by the way, was the one who was sermonizing that day.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I still remember the part of the sermon which talked about Christ being our advocate before the Father.
Oh, now it linked up with the book.
Sure. And he would, I remember him emphasizing that the verse is not saying when we sin, but it says if we sin.
Wow.
And then he talked about the difference of those words. I never forgot that. So it was my first for me seeing the pastor with a tie and a suit.
All right.
When I'm used to
garments.
Yes.
And gowns and collars.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, okay, this is it. And then I stopped there for 2 years.
At this point, are you telling yourself you're going to be baptized, or you're just saying...
I didn't even know that there's
need for baptism. Okay.
You know. But I said to myself, what if this is wrong?
Oh, now you are doubting.
So I have to turn it a bit and continue researching.
I see. You didn't want to jump at your first impressions.
And then the next thing I find something else, you know. So it took me 2 years to really continue and verify information. I didn't have a Bible then, but I could quote scripture because of that journey.
All right.
Until when one of my friends called Molefe, he used to study in Botswana. So from Leribe, he would sleep over to my place, at my place,
all right,
and then go to university in Botswana. When he comes back after so many months, he would sleep over here and then go
and then proceed.
And remembering that during high school days, he was quite religious, and he talked about salvation and Jesus,
right,
but I would feel bored and ignore him and all those kind of things.
All right.
So remembering that, I shared with him this new discovery,
all
my
right.
faith,
so
and all
he
that.
knew that there's a hook on you.
He said to me, so why don't you go to church? And it was on a Saturday.
Oh, Lord.
The rest is history. That day I bathed and I went to Maseru Church.
Wow.
And that was it.
Which year was this?
2002. 2002.
That's like 20 years ago.
Exactly, around June, July, somewhere there.
Wow.
And that was it.
Wow.
I came in there just alone like that.
Did they receive you?
And I was received well. Obviously, prior to that, I had talked to a number of Adventists I knew, and they would tell me, I don't go to that church. You know, Maseru Church, they don't care about people. Try smaller churches and all that.
All right.
But I said to myself, you know, that's the church I know, you know, just from the outside. And the question is, am I searching for people or God? Because as long as I can get God,
that's a very critical question.
I'm fine. I don't need people to kind of
validate who you are and what you're doing.
So I said, no, I'll go to that church. I went there, but they received me so well. Nice. At the time, I think the youth, within the youth setup was guys like Machet and Tiso, who later became my best friend till this very day. His brother Tsapon Tiso, and Moshe Mochikele, Sam Mochikele, those were like big youth guys there who would even go to Dasa and all. Yes. And they had a very good singing group there. So that very first day, there was a youth choir gathering, and they were practicing and rehearsing and all that. And they reached a point where they said, let us sing notes. All right. So they took hymnals and they attempted to sing tonic solfa notation. Yeah. Within less than a minute or two, I could pick that no one in here knows how to do tonic solfa notation. Oh. I was alone, like sitting there and listening after church. Yeah. I stood up, took a hymnal, read the song.
So by that time you know music from the Catholic Church?
Yes. So the do re mi fa sol la ti do thing was here. Wow. So bass, come, what? You could tell the excitement in the room, like, wow,
This guy knows.
can read notes, you know.
Wow.
The rest is history. And their group adopted me.
All right.
And it was called for him.
Uh-huh.
So that I can do tonic solfa
Yes.
songs with them and
Yes.
all that. And
Yes.
and
Wow.
that's when I learned now to shift from the to the a cappella voice and all
Version.
that.
Clear.
Quite a very challenging but interesting journey, you know. Yeah. So yes,
All right.
that's pretty much my
So you sang
spiritual-
with Bonteso in their group.
Yes.
Which part were you doing?
At the time, my voice wasn't as deep as now.
Uh-huh.
But naturally, I do all the ranges.
All right.
So, but at the time, they made me sing first tenor.
Ah. All right.
Yeah, so
It'll go well with your old
yeah, but then
Catholic
later,
way of singing.
exactly.
Yeah.
But quite different. So it was challenging because even
All
the naming
right.
of the parts,
Yes.
we that side it would be soprano, it would be alto, then tenor,
And then bass.
But here now I will hear them talking about melody,
Baritone. Second
first tenor,
first-
second tenor.
So the
bass.
only thing you know is
So,
bass.
yeah, I would be confused. But being musical and quite a thinking person,
Yeah.
I connected the dots along the way.
All right.
And I had to now adjust and see.
Yeah.
When you do chorale, you go that way. When you, in fact, in terms of vocal projection, when you do a cappella, it's more
Yeah.
like just be flexible and
So
fluid.
prophecy is what brought you to church.
Exactly.
No one came to teach you anything.
Exactly.
But the Holy Spirit mastered
Guided
you
me.
and guided you through books. And tell me about your experience now that you are in this remnant small group. How did the Lord lead you through the 20 years since 2002 to now? I want you to highlight the hot sections.
It's a roller coaster one. That's
Yeah.
why.
Tell me about that.
Yes. At the time when I was at Maseru Church, quite serious and seeking to be guided by the Lord and all those kind of things and learning more. Like you are saying, that your question had to do with me being led by the book.
Yes.
So therefore, no one really
Taught you.
Yes, so I remember that when we were being baptized, or we were just being baptized, and I remember Pastor Chobokwan, who was the church pastor at the time, requested that everyone who has just been baptized stand with the person that brought them the message to them.
Wow.
And I stood there alone.
Wow.
And he asked, "So where is your person?"
Uh-huh.
I said, "No,
I have no one.
I'm just here."
I have no one.
"What do you mean?" "It's a book that told me."
Wow.
"Who gave you the book?" "No one."
Wow.
"What do you mean?" "I got the book on the shelf
In the library.
in the library."
At
That's all.
university.
Honestly, there's no one.
Wow.
And people were there in pairs. I was the only one who is alone.
What a story.
standing
The power
there.
of the written
and I
word.
was fine.
Wow.
because honestly speaking, I was
Wow.
brought here by the written word.
Wow.
So there was that deep seriousness in terms of getting what truth is, to fully understand who Jesus is, who Jehovah is. And as a result, I was really searching, and even through services, I began to be concerned that the sermons are not really...
They're not giving you what is in this book.
Yeah,
What you
yes.
have known from here,
That was my serious
you're
concern.
not hearing it from the pulpit.
Exactly. What's this now?
Yeah.
And then I found that there are people who are asking such questions as well, who have grown in the church, or at least joined the church way before me. It was Ndadele Edo and some guy called Shia. Let me just say Shia, but I think his name is Pilani. Pilani Mashiani Pilani. I think the same name is Pilani.
All right.
And then the Mashiani part would just shorten it and say Shia.
All right.
Very strong and intelligent guy who never really continued with formal schooling, but who was well read and
All right.
who has an opinion in a host of topics and so knowledgeable. But Ndadele at the time was already, I think a professor at varsity or something like
All
that.
Right.
So he had his own questions, and he's an uncle to Maheta, who was now my best friend.
All right.
Because when we sang with that group, that music group,
you created that bond.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we bonded and became friends. And these guys began to have gatherings there by the clinic there to challenge so many things that are being done in the church. Child baptisms, women ordination, and a host of other topics, others related to certain Sabbath school lessons that would declare certain messages that are not doctrinal in terms of what we believe and all that.
All right.
Then I took interest in that.
Wow.
And we would gather there until the church leadership became very concerned and they expelled us there.
You're kidding.
Then we went to Katlehong. There was an old...
You mean the church sat down and said, because of...
Yes.
You are no longer members?
Exactly.
What was the issue?
The issue was we are disrespecting leadership.
In what regard?
In that you are asking questions, you are arrogant, and when we answer you, you don't believe. You see, what the church struggles with...
But do you feel that you were arrogant, if you look back?
I would admit that when you have youth,
Plus
sometimes
knowledge.
they can be overconfident in terms of doing
zealous,
things.
Too zealous.
Yes,
yeah.
but I regret literally nothing.
All right.
Because even now, I'm part of the conference. I still confront the leadership with issues that I feel they're not doing right. And I always invite people to criticize me as well as a leader to say, this is not good, you shouldn't be doing this or that. And also the growth that followed those efforts that we did. It's the
tremendous.
biggest reason why I don't regret anything, because I feel that Jesus was saying, take this route, keep digging, otherwise you can't impact. You can't be of any use to this church. So the eldership at the time simply couldn't engage intellectually with the issues that we were raising. And rather they were expecting that we should believe what they say as truth, and let it end there, and all that. So while I think the remedy was maybe start with us, have the spirit of prophecy here, the Bible here, then teach us, show us these things. So ultimately they kicked us out, and we gathered at Katlehong.
Okay.
It's somewhere
just behind the hills here.
Exactly.
All right.
There was an old lady who was part of that group called Nkhonomaskopa. We buried her, I think, quite recently. I think early this year, I think. A Jesus-loving old woman. Even her children simply loved the Lord.
Wow.
We gathered there for 6 to 8 years.
Because you were out of the church.
Yes, and also there was at the beginning would begin at church.
Okay.
And then at 2 o'clock we come.
Or for your afternoon. So even if you disfellowshipped, you still attended church.
Yes, at the beginning we were not yet disfellowshipped.
Okay.
It happened this way.
You just specified people to say, watch out for those people.
Yeah, we were told that stop gathering here at the clinic.
Okay.
So that's why we would go to church. And then when we have to gather, then we go to Katlehong.
All right.
And then it became a trend. The sermons began to change. The sermons were now addressing us.
Okay.
It was becoming a common trend that a preacher will stand there. I remember, I won't call a name, but one of the adult male preachers calling us peasants. That there are peasants here. And somewhere, somehow, the content even addressed me, that some of them are coming wherever they are coming from, and now they come here and do stuff, that kind of a thing.
Wow.
So the impact of that was us getting kind of annoyed every Sabbath after the service. It would be either messages from the pulpit that would annoy us, or some of the practices that we are concerned about continuing to be done.
All right. No one ever paid heed to what you were saying.
Yes, even if we were wrong, but we are concerned about those things. So at least engage us and show us that, guys, you are wrong here. And use the Bible, use the spirit of prophecy and all that.
All right.
That made us to ultimately decide that, guys, we should stop beginning at the church.
Okay.
Because yes, we will get annoyed ourselves, but we will also begin to annoy people there. And do we really want to destroy whatever is happening, because it's the name of God that is prevailing there? Do we want to meddle with it? Let's not do that. And then that's when we, from 9 a.m. would come here and begin services.
All right.
We read a lot. The Bible, spirit of prophecy. At the later stage, actually took Adventist pillars of the faith. At the time, it was the 27 fundamentals.
Yes.
At the later stage, to become the current 28 fundamental. And we read deeply each and every.
So let me fast forward this. You kicked out, you were there, but you continued reading and studying and sharing. But how did you come back into the church? Because now you're serving in the church.
I need to mention before I go there that in 2002, in December, I got baptized.
All right.
On the 6th of December, which later in 2012 became the birthday for my second-born son.
Wow. You was born on the date you're celebrating your birth, your spiritual birth.
Yes,
wow.
Yes. So I was baptized on the 6th of December. The following year in April, that's when we got disfellowshipped.
And you were still new in the church.
Exactly. The reason why we were disfellowshipped was that you have disappeared, you no longer come to church, we no longer see you, you don't know where you are. But guess what? The person who delivered the letters came right where we were gathering there to hand over the letters.
We don't know where you are, but we know you are here.
It also said, if you don't come to church by the 5th, I forget the month now. Yeah, you will have disfellowshipped yourself from the flock. And the church pastor.
That's a very interesting decision right there.
I don't know if I still have that copy somewhere,
It's worth treasuring. Because nothing just happens.
Exactly.
For me. There's a reason. And there will always be a spiritual lesson later on. So you were out of the church for how long?
6 to 8 years.
So what turned you back, or what happened for you to come back into the mainstream church?
Our loyalty to the book. We read. I don't even know what, but remember, a university degree takes 4 years. Yes. But we stayed 8 years.
Reading.
Just studying and practicing what we believed.
Wow.
So there were certain things that we began to realize that we just believed them without actually researching them. So they became part of the questions that we were asking ourselves. So one of them was, guys, we are here. And I remember I was the one raising that question. Don't you think this is no man's land? Because we didn't really read for us to be here. We just analyzed stuff that these experiences say that we should stop going to church and be there. But can we say from a Bible point of view and a spirit of prophecy point of view, we are safe to be here? So we were a very open-minded bunch. But the only thing, just read as a verse, a Bible chapter or something, spirit of prophecy, then we will believe you. So we went back to the Bible, went back to the spirit of prophecy. And then we read books like, I think, Selected Messages.
Yes. Volume 1 and 2.
Yes, and we read a number of testimonies to the church. Talked about the church being seen as if it might fall, but it will never fall. Yes, we never really agreed with the connotation that the church is Babylon. We never really believed that. And that's what made us to be reduced in number as the years progressed by. Because some of the people we were with held such beliefs, and we would tell them, then why are we attending the church that is Babylon then? Because we think Babylon, we know Babylon.
Yes, it's not this one.
Yeah, so some would leave because they don't agree with what we believe and all those kind of things. And we read concerning the question as to why are we here and are we safe here? And the spirit of prophecy said a lot of things about unity. I remember we read a quotation that we used to read that says, unify. You know, yes.
Gather warmth from the coldness of others.
Something like that.
Press together, yes.
And I think Selected Messages would talk about that 10, 20, or 30, even 50 of us shouldn't go away from the fold and form a confederacy to take the work and do it on their own. So many readings that all of them were simply saying,
return home.
Yeah. And we said, brethren, it's time. It's time.
All right.
We went back to the church.
Yeah.
There was some leadership council gatherings, so we found elders really full of that boardroom. And we had our books, and we said we went out having a book in our hand. We are back again because of the book. And we
That's a very interesting one, yes.
I was with Macheta, I think a guy called Motsamai. I think it was 3 of us or 4 on behalf of the Katlehong people. We presented what we now believe.
All right.
We have decided to come back to the Church of God. Yes, you should understand us. We never went out of the church.
You kicked us out.
Did
you tell them that they kicked you?
We used to say we were still in the church because no one owns the church.
All right.
It's just that we were not being led by you. We were not led by the conference. But we have always been Seventh-day Adventists under this very church. Wow. Because even the reformers came to get us. We denied them. The reformers, they were from Swaziland.
Yeah. They heard you're now outside, so they were wanting to connect.
They couldn't answer a simple question that we asked them.
Which is?
Which church are you?
All right. Identify yourself.
Because the one we are in is the one that carries the message that it was given in 1844.
All right.
Which is the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
So which one is
We just have issues with its leadership. We don't have a problem with the church.
All right.
So, Luna, who are you?
Yeah.
And they talked about the year 1950.
Okay.
And we said, then,
That's
who gave you these books then? Because these ones belong to a prophet called Ellen White.
Who belongs
to that other church. They couldn't answer that question. We had visited them in Swaziland.
Is this the Shepherd's Road movement?
No, the SD Reformed
Oh, the
Church.
Reformed Church.
Yes,
All
so
right.
we told them, no, we are just visiting you. Our loyalty lies with the Seventh-day Adventist Church, no matter what. We may have issues with people, but we are part of that church.
Wow.
Even if they disfellowship us, in heaven we believe our names appear as Seventh-day Adventists. And that's it.
Wow. So you come back into the church. Which year was this?
I might now forget the year, but if we say 03, 8 years later, where does that put us?
That's 2011, 2012?
Yeah, I would say I would be comfortable with 2011, 2010, somewhere there.
The Lord still led you.
Yeah, and another challenge came to say, now we have to rebaptize you.
Yeah, because you were struck off the register.
Exactly. Then we said, that's not reason enough for us.
All right.
Because to show you how serious we were with our baptism, that's why this whole thing happened. That even took 8 years. We are still holding to that baptism.
Wow.
So
nothing new has happened for us to profess a new need for baptism.
Yes, but if you feel that we have to be rebaptized, the Bible, the spirit of prophecy, talk to us.
Show us.
And even the church manual. We said even the church manual now, it's fine. Sit us down. And that couldn't happen. It was tough. Because even the church manual, they would take a certain page and then we'll say, check the footnote. They would check the footnote. It would say, go to pair this with that chapter. And then we'd go there, it will wipe off the whole reasoning they were doing at that time. I remember my pastor, I don't think he would mind, who is currently our president. He said, hey, now this church manual is beginning to be new. You guys, because we were sitting down and he was really, and we appreciate his efforts at the time.
To really get
he
this
really
clearly
set us down and
outlined.
He was reading with us and we were reasoning with the Bible, spirit of prophecy, and I think he was convinced that no, it's fine with these guys. But then Maseru Church really feel that we need to get rebaptized. So we didn't want to do stuff just because we felt human beings want us to do stuff. We are people of conviction. That's it.
And that's important.
Yes.
In the days where we're going in the future.
Exactly.
If you don't stand for something, you will fall for everything.
And then that's how we were accepted by Worship Center through the profession of faith.
All right.
The pastor at the time there was serving at the conference for Spirit of Prophecy Department, and he took us. He said, I need to work with you guys because on the question of vegetarianism, I wouldn't have a problem. On the question of how rightful the spirit of prophecy is, we won't have issues. And we actually taught the whole 10 districts, training churches about spirit of prophecy, Ellen White books, and so forth. It was such a beautiful experience.
Wow.
But that's how we joined Worship Center SDA Church.
You are currently involved with the conference on music, but also you have a ministry that you are running.
Yes.
How has the Lord led you into that, and what is the aim of that?
After returning back to the church, we served at local churches. Some of us had already dispersed to different churches in town and some places in the country. And we just served directly and indirectly. Directly would mean being part of the leadership. Indirectly would say I'm a church member here, so I need to do something for the Lord. And we began to serve even at the district level. For example, there was a time when I was a district level secretary, until we grew into leading the conference. Because what I like within the Seventh-day Adventist Church is that you are observed. You don't know, but they are looking at you.
Okay.
They will see your interest. They will see things you do, and they will say, we need to use this guy here.
All right.
So after a few years, when we were back at the church, I think the church really picked that guy has a serious passion for music, because I would lead songs during camp meetings. I would correct, even at church level. They picked that our church here sang differently, given what I was leading them to in terms of how they should sing the hymns and all that. And then one day the conference said, take this department, help us here. And that's basically how the whole thing happened. And then when we were back at Katlehong, we began to collaborate with Ndade Tapelolititi.
All right.
He was in Cape Town at the time.
All right.
But originally he was with us at Katlehong.
All right.
So we decided that every December, let's evangelize our home district.
Okay.
With literature, pamphlets, books, and so forth. So every Christmas and Boxing Day, we would be found in town with tables, boxes full of literature, and with our wives and children, and with some hot dogs and juice, and then share with people there.
All right.
And with a register where people would register for prayer requests, and all those kind of things. And we did that, I think, a number of years, maybe 4, even 5. With the last one, we had a fully fledged health expo. Okay. We even collaborated with Maluti Adventist Hospital.
All right.
Had a doctor who was looking at any eye problems for our elderly there, and the rest of the population. And we collaborated with also the blood transfusion service. They came and they put a mobile unit there to. It was a very successful gathering, and even my father, I remember, he went there to be examined, eyes and all stuff.
But COVID
like
then
that.
happened.
It was a bit back then.
Before
it wasn't,
COVID.
Yes. But I was driving towards the question you had asked. That birthed families that now stuck together, which began to meet every December. That ministry, which we used to outreach at our home district, we realized that as our families grew, there were challenges that began to be within families. Then we said, no, actually, we should actually meet to minister unto our families.
All right.
So that the experiences we exchange and advise each other and so forth. So we turned that into family gatherings.
All right.
But then when COVID came, it birthed a ministry, a social media ministry, which we currently term Sesotho Sermons and Programs.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
it's been dropped on my WhatsApp by Tapelo.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because the way it began, we thought it would be a temporary solution.
All right.
Just to address the lockdowns. Because people are not going to church.
Yeah.
And Adventists sought to go to social media to preach. both formally with formal structures and informal structures. But we learned that it was more of English sermons than
your vernacular local Sesotho language.
And then we decided, no, you know what? Let's use Facebook and preach through Sesotho. We did that a number of weeks. Then we began to invite other preachers from the local setting, and it was quite. The way God does things. It's amazing. You know, we set up a page, and then when you're going to preach, we make you an admin of that page so that you can now be able to take live video with your phone and all that, and then post certain challenges until we could use a streaming platform, which we use now. So at the time we thought it would be temporary, but the interest that we got was from outside. Then we picked, God actually said, focus on Adventists, but use an outside platform so that you will see that actually.
Yes, it's reaching there.
Exactly. And then we said, now this has to be permanent. And now we came up with logos and formal names, and we even decided to remove anything that might say Adventist or something.
So that it really reaches out in a nine-aligned,
yes,
but bringing you the truth.
But at the same time, given the way we think, all of us, we are quite independent thinkers. So one day the church might want to distance itself from what our ministry has said at a certain point in time. So we don't want them to say, but that Adventist word there. You know, we have to be careful of such things because there can be really big issues in this church.
I think you're quite right.
So we are mature enough now to say, how do we make our practice more watertight, lessen any conflicts with the church, because we don't want that. We'd rather collaborate with the church than draw swords against each other.
I want us to bring this to a close.
Yes.
And I'm going to do something that I've not even warned you. So to our viewers out there, this is as candid as it can be.
Wow.
You ready?
What's that now? Okay,
I've got a few. I want short answers, maybe one-word answers, and then we'll wrap it at that. Maybe I'll ask you to give us your take-home message.
Yes.
But let me ask you the first question. What is your biggest regret in life?
Wow. Yeah. This is powerful. I do have regrets, but I wonder if I have the biggest one. But I'll just probably pick one.
Maybe the one that bothers you a lot. Maybe you can pick anyone, it's fine.
Yeah, because honestly speaking, the role that Jesus plays in my life, I have a very short space to really regret long about an issue after I put it in his hands. But one of the things that I remember I regretted a lot for a long time is the course of study that I took, given what I wanted. I liked science, and I wanted to study agriculture, BSc Agric, Bachelor of Science Agriculture Studies and all that. But God simply said no. Bachelor of Arts in Public Admin and Political Science. So I never really liked it, and I felt like it's second class to what I really wanted. But I think the reason why he wanted me to do so became when I understood prophecy. That which made it easy for me was a course within my course of study called International Relations.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So career choices is something that really bothers you. The second question I have for you is, who's your greatest human hero? I said human because I want to take out Jesus.
Yes, yes. I think
someone who inspires you and why.
Obviously there would be a number of them, but my father.
Okay.
Do more. Robert Molefe.
Why do you choose him?
It's because the way he raised us, the way he raised me, made me who I am. The way I approach life, mostly the way I think, teaching me to treat people the same, teaching me to respect certain things in life. One profound thing he once told me was that never ever say that you are poor. God would be angry. Because as long as you have a roof on top of your head, and he was pointing himself that I have a wife, I have children. Actually, I'm rich because of you guys. And this is simply enough for me.
All right.
So he has said many things that are profound, but I'm just making an example of that one.
Yeah.
So the way he wanted me to excel and become was pretty powerful.
Great.
So yes, he's my hero.
Yeah, so,
Even sometimes when sitting alone,
yeah,
I get teary sometimes thinking of him. Yeah.
Yes, I think if he's watching, Ndate, thank you for raising. He's appreciating all those hidings.
Yeah.
The third question, and maybe second from last, that I want to ask you is, if you were to be the Prime Minister of Lesotho, let's assume you are given the mantle to run this country.
Wow.
What would be your top priority, maybe one or two of your top priorities for this country that you really want to see doing well? Whether political, economic, social, and otherwise.
I don't think I'll pick any, but rather I would change the ideology that forms the rulership, which is social democracy.
All right.
Which would be a bit of socialism mixed with democracy itself, where the people should benefit from the resources that we have. You see, Lesotho has got diamonds, has got water, and has got agriculture. Recently, we are leading Africa in cannabis industry, and we are one of those nations that have educated people, have educated its citizens. The next Lesotho can read and write, and they can speak basic English and all that. The fact that sometimes you use English to judge if someone is educated or not, it's a fact. I know we have many things that we say.
All right.
So two things. It would be the ideology that underpins rulership.
Okay.
And then I would address the dependence on other nations, because you mentioned earlier that we are completely landlocked by South Africa, and we have learned to really rely on South Africa on many things. So I would raise a self-sufficient model.
All right.
In terms of building this country's economy, that we should do stuff for ourselves before we think that we should rely on certain on other nations.
All right.
So that's that. Yeah, I think so.
The last question I have for you is, if you were to die today, what would you want to be remembered for?
I would want to be remembered for patriotism, the love for God, the gospel. Even if as a human being I would struggle with certain sins or spiritual challenges, but at least a man who lived for Christ openly, who would profess him and preach him. And lastly, a man who was a family man, who loved his wife, who loved his sons, and probably who even paved a good future for them. My journey with my wife can be a story on its own.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even covered it today in the family.
Yes. So and maybe it's good also to mention her name before we close. That
of course.
When I met
otherwise
her,
your visa for coming here will be retracted.
When I met her, she was Selina Mamokhele Mokhele. That time. And Selina is, in Lesotho in general, belongs to beautiful girls most of the time.
All right.
You know. And then when we got married, my father gave her the name Mama Hadi, which is the mother of Lobolas.
Wow.
Mama Hadi Molefe.
Nice.
And she went on to give me two beautiful sons, Malefane Molefe and Tsusane Molefe.
Nice. So this boy thing continues, eh?
Yeah.
From your parents to you now.
Yeah, and now you remind me the second reason why I was saying my father is my hero.
Yes.
Apparently among his sons, I'm the one who looks more like him and who sounds more like him.
Oh,
and that,
all right.
You can imagine how that makes me. Because when I meet his friends,
they think you are his brother.
They're like, hey, when he was like this. Hi, man.
Yeah,
so
a copycat.
It makes me feel
nice.
really good. Yes.
So maybe talk to our viewers out there and tell them, in your whole life since you were born up to now, what is the lesson or maybe the inspiration you want to leave them with? If you are to preach to someone or teach someone or share with someone something very short, I'm giving you maybe a minute or two.
Yeah, I would say, if you haven't found God, find Him. For He created you for Him. Your brain is a signal that connects you with Him. And when you found Him, be free in Him. That which you live, that which you talk, you say, is not necessarily that which someone else wants him to say.
All right.
Live fully. Live your life fully. Express yourself. And in the process, do not force anything on anyone.
All right.
If you like liberty, make sure that you provide liberty even for others. I know we are closing, but there are many issues that we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
COVID-19, forced vaccinations, so many things that are happening in this nation.
People are losing their jobs.
Exactly. But we are now in a world where there is a trend where those in authority are taking basic freedoms from us. Stand up and be fearless, because no human being owns another human being.
All right.
No human being has a patent on another human being. Your president, your prime minister, your leaders, they are human beings. They have blood like you. And they are there because of you. Keep them accountable. Address them if they oppress you. And in the end, never forget to leave a mark, so that one day they will say, there lies a man, there lies a woman, giant of giants.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ntate. What a privilege. I know there's so much, so we're going to have part 2 of this to talk about those key issues. Thank you so much to our viewers, for those who have stayed on with us. It's been a blessing to sit here and talk to our brother, Molefe Koantlane. What a blessing. Thank you so much. We're coming to you live from the Kingdom of Lesotho. If you haven't subscribed to this MelVee podcast on the go, please do so right now. And we look forward to see you on the next episode. God bless you, and bye-bye.